I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I stand next to you, I feel short. Mary Beth?
Councilwoman Chapman.
Here.
Councilman Deegan.
Here.
Councilman Appuccino.
Here.
Councilman Reifenberg.
Here.
Supervisor Albrecht.
Here.
Town Attorney Emily Swenson. Here. All present.
I ask for a motion to accept the agenda as written.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There are no public hearings tonight. I would like to ask for a motion to accept the regular town board meeting minutes of 4/15/24.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All official correspondence is on file in the town clerk's office. Tonight, we have a couple of presentations. The first one is, it is with great sadness that we announce the passing of our prior court constable, Don Wacker. He was hired on December 9th, 2009, and retired on December 1st, 2016. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. I would like to ask for a motion on the floor to dedicate a blank page in the minutes in his honor. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our presentation tonight, our second presentation, is for the Climate Action Planning Institute. Debbie Glynn is an intricate part of the Climate Smart Committee and the CAPI program, which again is the Climate Action Planning Institute. And Debbie's going to be updating everyone on CAPI. Yes, and just push the button.
Okay, on. Hi, I'm Debbie Glynn, as she said, and I'm a member of Climate Smart and a member of the Conservation Advisory Council. And we have an update on CAPI, and that's what I'm going to talk about. I want to start with a review of CAPI, what it is, and how Pleasant Valley got involved with this program. Hudson Valley Regional Council received a grant from Dutchess County to help municipalities in the Hudson Valley lower their carbon emissions. A group from Climate Smart reached out to the town board to see if Pleasant Valley could be included. So in April of 2022, the town of Pleasant Valley signed a memorandum of understanding between the County of Dutchess and Pleasant Valley that allowed us to participate. Hudson Valley Regional Council and ICLEI, which somehow stands for Local Governments for Sustainability, I'm not sure how you get that out of ICLEI, but anyway, provided the program and personnel to walk us through all the steps, and Pleasant Valley in return was to provide a little over $4,600. This was to be worked off through volunteer hours, so it is of no cost to the town. The program is referred to as CAPI, which stands for Climate Action Planning Institute, and is what Hudson Valley Regional Council has dubbed this program. The program is divided into 3 sections and takes about 2 years to complete. The sections are, first, to complete a greenhouse gas inventory to serve as a baseline for town emissions. The year 2019 was chosen as the baseline year. This piece has been completed, and I will talk about it a little bit more in a minute. The second part, based on information found in the inventory, has been to develop what's called a climate action plan to suggest ways to reduce emissions in various sectors of our town government operations. This part is nearly completed. The first 2 sections together, CAPI calls mitigation, or the lessening of greenhouse gases. The third section is adaptation, or learning to adjust to things we can't control. Basically, this is talking about projections of increased heat events, increased precipitation, and the increase of extreme precipitation events, which probably means 3 or 4 days of very heavy rain, which potentially would cause flooding. These projections have been made for Dutchess County by Hudson River Estuary Program. Unlike Sections 1 and 2, which deal with the operation of town government, Section 3 covers the wider community. This section is still in progress, with the hope that it will be done by the end of the summer. Going back to the section on greenhouse gas emissions, there were 5 areas studied to see where the town is now in terms of its carbon emissions. These 5 were buildings and facilities, vehicle fleet, employee commute, streetlights, those owned and operated by the town, and the disposal of material from the transfer station. Our buildings emit the most. This includes the town hall, the highway garage, and the recreation building at Helen Aldrich. Vehicle fleet comes in second. These 2 together make up around 80% of our emissions, so it's the lion's share of it. Employee commute comes in third. That's gas for employees to go to and from work. The streetlights and traffic signals come in fourth, and disposal of material from the dump fifth. The full report is on the Climate Smart website, which you can reach, if I've got it right, it's www.climatesmartpleasantvalley.newyork.org. And the first time I tried to find it, I just put in Pleasant Valley, what?
It's PV Climate Smart NY.
NY, okay. And the first time I went into it, I just put in PV Climate Smart, and it came up with it. So I think you can get it. The report that I gave to Mary Beth for the minutes has the website at the bottom of it. So if that's going to get passed out later, you can have it there. It's worth going and looking at that because it's quite an extensive report. It has charts. It has ways that you can work to reduce these emissions, what all the steps are in the program. I think it would be a really valuable thing for you all to take a look at. I actually downloaded it today and reread it before I came in case there were any questions. There are many ways to address reducing carbon emissions, and they are described in the Climate Action Plan. All will take a lot of discussion amongst the board and various stakeholders. Our biggest problem is in working with the buildings is the uncertainty of if and when the town hall will move to a new location. Where are we now? With board permission, we would like to send out a survey to get input from those who live and or work in the town. The results will be presented on the Climate Smart website. Stakeholder meetings are in progress, and Sandra Larkin will present a complete report to the board in the coming months. When all information is in, the board will need to review it all and vote on accepting the report. Following acceptance, the work begins to come up with mitigation and adaptation strategies to strive toward the goals of reducing emissions 20% by 2030 and 90% by 2050. These are slightly reduced. We put in slightly lower numbers than the New York State. They think you should be at 50% by 2030 and 100% carbon neutral by 2050. We thought that was kind of a far reach, so we lowered them slightly for our report. We also will be involved in needing to monitor and report on the progress of the program. At this point, I want to thank the Climate Smart team for working on this. Sandra Larkin, Mita Plotnick, Case Hader-Holm, myself, and to our board liaison, Mary Albrecht. Also to Hudson Valley Regional Council, ICLEI, and their staff. Thank you. If there are questions, we'll try to answer them if you have any. Or later, you can answer them later. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I'd like to make a motion on the floor to accept the Climate Smart Committee and CAPI to send their survey out. This will not be at any expense to the town.
A second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next presentation is in reference to municipal water supply investigation, and Rob Flores and Bill Bright are here from Delaware Engineering to fill everyone in on this. Nope.
Am I on? There we go. So I'm Robert Flores with Delaware Engineering, and that's Bill Bright with Delaware Engineering. And I'm not sure where to start. The Pleasant Valley, the hamlet, has a long history of needing a municipal water supply. We have, in the past, discussed with you, with this board, and I'm sure other people have also, there's a number of contaminants in the hamlet, right, including PFAS, chlorides, bacteria, freon. There's quite a few. So the need for public water supply is easy to account for. And when we've discussed it recently with Mary, and there's the potential to drill a municipal well across the river in House Park, and that would if that pans out, would provide us a viable source of water for the hamlet. And it's nearby, and it would be protected because of the stream kind of forms a border to the contaminants. So so that's why there's a proposal in front of you to take the first step. And the first step would be examining some existing wells that are on that side of the stream. And if those come back clean, then we would recommend to you what the next steps would be. And so we take one step at a time, so you can gain confidence of what the potential new water supply could be. Sorry, that's a big burst of information, but any questions on that so far?
So, just so I understand, the idea of putting it in Howe Park is to have it the closest to the hamlet where the commercial businesses, potentially we have more development and restaurants and more investments in the town without putting a huge burden on potentially residential properties that don't need a central water system at this point.
Right, so that really concentrates the people who need the clean water and the water source. So that way you don't have to travel miles to get there and try and provide water to the people that, maybe have a perfectly fine well, right?
And it's my understanding that previous to this board, the towns had you guys in the past go out and do tests, and that's why you're so familiar with the issues within the hamlet.
Yeah, we go on for quite a bit, and especially Bill, but yeah, there's samples that we took, I guess in 2019, around that era, for PFAS, and there's samples that are publicly available through the Department of Health.
Yeah, we've gone to DOH and we foiled all of their records, and we pretty much have an understanding of what the contaminants are and where they are, and pretty much the whole hamlet, their sources of water have some form of contamination, either sodium chloride, salt, or coliform from bacteria, or freon, or volatile organics, perchloroethylene, trichloroethylene, and perfluoroalkaloids, which is the forever chemicals. So pretty much the border, that area with where the creek on the south side, right, and just that triangle area where most of the businesses are. Most of those businesses have systems, very complicated, and who knows how well they work systems to keep their water potable so they can pass the minimum standards, but the water they're drawing from is contaminated.
And just the idea of the creek or the stream there is that acts somewhat as a natural barrier for those things that you just talked about, and that's why we're examining across from there.
Yeah, and they're all in rock aquifers, all right? So across the street in that park, there's a very large deposit of bank run gravel, and the Wappingers Aquifer itself flows around. So you have the creek, right? But the aquifer flows around the creek in the bank run and in the gravel, and historically those aquifers yield the most amount of water, and there's a pretty good chance that it isn't affected by the contamination that's occurred on the north side of the Wappingers there.
But before anything is done for test wells, which is more expensive, you're going to be doing some preliminary work to make sure that there aren't those contaminants on that side, correct?
Yeah, we'll do.
That's right.
We'll do some research. We'll try to find if there are if any of the existing residents have gravel wells, because that would give us a leg up on the water quality in the gravel aquifer. And there's a lot of data already on the rock wells. I mean, we may have to do some sampling, we may not.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. I know you said that you worked on this quite a bit last time. Like, what's the hit list of the difference between this time and last time? Like, what did you learn, and what? I may have missed it. Sorry.
So the biggest difference is the source of water, right? The last time we examined this, the source of water was going to be the tri-municipal from Poughkeepsie. And this time, we're going to drill our own well and provide water, we have town-owned water well, town-owned water district. So that's the biggest difference.
We're not gonna run 2 miles of pipe at $400 a foot.
Well, I guess the question I meant to ask then was that just not thought of last time, or was there a reason that didn't get
There
pursued
was
last
a
time?
reason. We were going to, it was a bigger plan.
And that's not to call you out.
No,
It's
I
more of like, I'm
understand that. No,
glad we got a
yeah,
good idea.
yeah. It wasn't our decision. I mean, the reason was it was a bigger bite. It was gonna include all the homes along Route 44. And there was gonna be a lot more customers involved, a lot more residents involved. It was gonna be a much bigger system to start with.
And it wouldn't have been just 44. It couldn't just be the corridor. It had to go up into Clark Heights and Gleason and Innis and all of the other places along Route 44.
Yeah, and the grander plan was also to collaborate with the town and city of Poughkeepsie and build a water tank that would also help their water district on the far east. And so it was part of a bigger plan. It was too big, really, for what we needed, so.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Rob, I'm not sure if you wanted to mention that the proposed tank would also be on this site?
Right, so if we're successful in finding this to be a good well site, then the tank and booster pumps would also be located in the park. And so that you would, so the location of the tank, which was previously identified somewhere in the hamlet, that would also be different than the first go-around.
The design of the system will be different. It would be a pump-up system as opposed to a gravity system. It's just a different design. It's a smaller system, much smaller, much less gallons per day. So it makes sense. It'll all fit on the piece that we already own, that you already own.
And the other part of this is that it's not interfering with anything on Howe Field, like the baseball field, the extra fields. None of that is going to be, put aside or not be able to be used. This is going to be up further, closer to where the gate is when you come into Howe Park.
If you look at the mapping, what we did there was, you have to be 200 feet from surface water to not filter. Filtering's more expensive. It would be good if we didn't have to. Not saying that we won't have to, but, so you'll see where the locations that we selected. The idea is to be 200 feet from the creek, but still be in the gravel. And that's what that map kind of is there. So, and it's a shotgun. I mean, there's a lot of places there, but when it comes to testing the site, I mean, there's ways to do that. You start with a 2-inch well, and you take a sample of the gravel all the way to bedrock, and they determine through an analysis of the geology, its water-bearing potential, and things like that. There's a lot of places around that use gravel aquifers. The village of Fishkill serves over 10,000 people in Dutchess County with gravel aquifers. So it's it's a source of a lot of, a high volume amount of water.
Potentially, how many could this serve?
We haven't even looked at that. It really, it's too early to tell. It really depends on the gallons per minute that we get from the wells. 10 gallons a minute is 14,000 gallons a day. A human being uses about 70 gallons a day. So it's 110 gallons per bedroom. I mean, the idea is to provide water for the hamlet and the businesses that are there. There aren't a lot of people that live in the hamlet, but there's some, and unless they have a pretty advanced system, hopefully they're drinking bottled water.
And just while we have you, later on in the meeting, we have a resolution. Can you just discuss a little bit about what that would cover if we pass that resolution, what
Sure.
that entails, kind of?
Right, so that's the logical first step into this investigation, in that, there's existing wells on that side of the creek. So we want to knock on doors, ask for permission to take samples, collect we're looking for basically three volunteers, and we'll collect samples for the typical contaminants that are found on the other side of the creek to see what, we want to go in with our eyes open, right? And so that's what that initial fee is to
Preferably the ones closer to the creek.
That's right.
Yeah, and we'll foil the health department. What we want is well completion reports. So whenever somebody drills a well, they do a well completion report, and there's a lot of information in those well completion reports: the strata, the type of geology, water bearing, if it's rock, what kind of rock is it? Is it rotten shale? Is it good, fractured shale? Whatever. There's data to get from existing information, so it's just a matter of going and foiling it and looking for it, and we're gonna really look hard to try to find a gravel well along the Wappingers in there.
Can I just comment on the process a little bit? So if this project ends up going forward, in addition to designing the actual water system, we'd also need to create a district, which is how it would be paid for. So only the properties that are actually receiving water from the system would be part of the district that would be paying the cost of developing and installing and maintaining it. So if we want to start going that direction, we'll need to do a resolution so that the costs associated with developing the district can then be charged back to the district. So this piece, we just pulled out this small piece to just see if this is a viable way to go. So after this stage, we can start to consider whether to go further down that process. But just for this little bit is to decide whether it's even viable.
Thank you, Emily.
The other thing I wanted to add was, we looked at grants for the water, and unfortunately, we're missing one that's due June 14th because it's impossible for us to get everything ready in the time. But by completing this work and getting a preliminary design and knowing where we're getting our water from, the next time we see a grant, we would have the paperwork ready to submit,
That's right.
which we don't have now.
That's right.
That's right.
Drinking water grants are usually 60%, right?
Yeah, the most common grant is a WIA grant, which is the one that's due in June, and that's 60% grant, and then 40% low-interest loan. But there's a suite of grants you can apply for, and you have to go through seeker and create a district and bond resolution to even apply for the grant. So we want to be there this time next year. So in the 2025 round of grant applications, you're able to apply for grants. Yep.
And what I was reading was that the grants would be pretty prevalent for us because the water is so bad.
Right, so the grants, public health and
Right.
water quality are the number one, that's the goals of the grant. So we have a very strong case for public health because you have a
Right.
number of contaminants, And you would be eliminating those little pocket public water supplies, the McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts, all those would be consolidated into municipal, and they see that as a big positive. So all that would be good in terms of, all these grants are competitive, so you have to have, you have to have an edge, right? So you're in a good spot there. You're not in a good spot to have all these contaminants, but it helps with grants.
Anybody else have any questions right now? Can you stick around for a couple minutes in case we have people that have questions for you? from the
absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'd like a motion to open the agenda for public comment for agenda items only. One time, 3 minutes per person.
So moved.
You-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Brian Aldridge, Margaret Court. You guys were talking about drilling wells within the town, close to the business section, which is good. So going forward, if your test results come back and everything's positive, and this whole project goes forward, how are you geared for future expansion to people like up in the top of Clark Heights and Timothy Heights who've been screaming for years that their quality of water is substandard? So is this plan feasible to expand at that point?
The idea is to get the small system approved and up and running, and then expand it from there.
Okay.
All right, so you target the meets and bounds area that you're gonna target where the need is the greatest. You build a system for that, but you build a system that's expandable.
Okay, and in the future, over time, we all know maintenance comes into play. So instead of getting the water from the city and town of Poughkeepsie, Pleasant Valley is going to be responsible for the maintenance, testing, salaries for our water department, versus the town of Poughkeepsie and the city of Poughkeepsie. If something goes wrong, they're on the hook for maintenance, salaries. All Pleasant Valley does is get a bill. So
Yeah, so,
they can come out. I step out of the way for them. That's fine.
Yeah, honestly, at this time, we're probably just going to have to take comments from you.
Okay.
And they're being taken down, written down, and then we'll have more discussion about this in the future.
All right.
Yeah,
It's just
I
too
would've-
early to know the answers to
Yeah,
all these
I-
things.
I mean, these are questions that are obviously going to come up as time
Oh,
goes on and throughout
absolutely.
the whole process. So,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah,
you
we
got to be
expect that.
proactive.
Yes.
every municipality that has a water system does what you just said.
I'm just talking out as far as the cost of owning your own versus basically quote unquote renting, where you don't have to deal with a lot of the other issues that come with it. So it would be, depends on which way you want to go, that's all. So, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian, if you got other questions and you want to send them to me, and I'll just collect them as a list and then forward them on, go for it. Yeah, if you want to.
Trish Prenti, I'm Chair of Planning Board. I want to comment on 12A, proposed local law. A, local law amending chapters 20 and 98 to specify training and attendance requirements for members of the Planning Board. Zoning Board of Appeals, change the number of ZBA members and specify use of alternate members for both boards. I want to encourage the board to include planning and zoning. We've not seen anything to do with this yet, so it would be helpful if we all had a chance to take a look at it and maybe have comments to it. Also, I hope you will follow the guidance from New York State Planning. which I know I have shared with the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish.
Gary Veeder, South Point Turnpike, Pleasant Valley. Along with the comments on Donald Wacker, I would like to mention that we also have lost two former councilmen. Art Levin, who served with me when I was supervisor 50-plus years ago. He was a very active member of our community. He also ran, before we had Dutchess News here, he had his own Valley Voice. And it was a very fair discussion of what was going on in Pleasant Valley and so forth. And quite frankly, Art and I were of different parties, but we got along real well. And I think that he was a credit to our community, and I think we should also recognize him in the minutes. Following that, it's been a lousy few months. Hilda Van Vliet also passed away. She was a councilman later on. I'm not sure of those dates, to be honest with you. You know, first of all, my age, and then it's 50-plus years ago. So, but Hilda also was my neighbor. Her maiden name was Johansson, and they ran the Hoffman farm across the street from me, their whole family. So she was very active in the town and was also well respected and should be mentioned in the minutes. This section, I guess I done.
Thank you, Gary.
Gary, are you going to come back? I have a question for you. Are you going to speak later? Me. Are you going to speak later? I have a question for you. Are you going to speak in the open comments later? Because I have a question for you about... Okay, got it.
Good evening, Gully Stanford, 181 Marshall Road. Just on items 12A and 14C, just picking up on what Chair Prunty has alluded to, these are very important steps, I think, that you are taking in essentially reforming and reorganizing the way the board works with its planning board and its zoning board of appeals. And they really have to be seamless. They have to be interactive. The boards have to understand what their role is and, of course, what the role of the town board is as the ultimate decision maker. However, as I glance through the way it's written, and perhaps you're taking action here tonight, so I apologize if I come too late on this. It does seem that there is a lack of reference to consultation with ongoing consultation, I assume, with the chairs of those boards, both in terms of the interaction and the operations of the boards with our town board, but also in the matter of appointments. And I would certainly recommend that whatever procedures you adopt, ensure that there is input from these boards so that there is a transparent activity here. It's not a kind of Olympian town board making appointments in any kind of isolation, but really there is a commitment to coordination and consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gully.
Hello, Nikki Santos, North Ave, also the Assistant Recreation Director for the Town of Pleasant Valley. I just wanted to address 15A under items for special consideration, reaffirming our commitment to rejecting hate, discrimination, and intolerance. And I wrote a little something, if you guys will just listen for a few. As a victim of racism and discrimination in this town, I find it commendable that you all are signing a resolution to reject hate, discrimination, and intolerance. However, that resolution is actually meaningless if it is not acted upon. Signing that paper with a shiny black pen doesn't change anything that goes on here. Systemic racism and discrimination isn't going to be rejected simply because you agreed to reject it here on a piece of paper this evening. People need to actually see the changes. Simply put, actions speak louder than words. Labeling employees as difficult and confrontational and trying to diminish civil service titles is an example of the systemic racism that still occurs here. So please remember that today while you are rejecting hate and discrimination. When you sign your name, think about the future of Pleasant Valley and what you want it to look like. When you sign your name, picture my daughters who will grow up watching how their mom is treated at her job and will grow to feel like they deserve that as well. And most importantly, when you sign, remember, silence is complicity. As council members, as council members, as town employees, as residents, we need to do better and be better so that people like me can watch our children grow and most importantly, thrive here like every human being deserves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Roberts, North Avenue. I just have a quick question for the gentleman from Delaware Engineering. So the new proposed area for the water in town, is that coming up North Avenue at all? And if so, how far? Is it not going up North Avenue now?
No, but we're only taking the comments right now. But if you want to email me your comments also, you can say them, and then you can email them,
Okay.
Carol, and I'll make sure that you get an answer.
Okay, I'm just happy it's not going up North Avenue.
And I think it's
No,
good
that's
that
Quaker Lane.
I think it's good that you guys are putting these ideas out because it makes us think about things. But honestly, a lot of this stuff, it's so give us your comments.
Yeah,
It's just,
definitely not past Quaker Lane. And thank you, this sounds much more affordable for the town and reasonable. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? I would like to make a motion to close the agenda to the public comment.
are you looking to speak on an
Oh.
agenda item? No?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just wanted to make sure we didn't skip over you. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we come to new business discussion. 12A, proposed law A of 2024.
Yes, so I guess I'll start the discussion on it. Let me just get to those notes. So we've been talking about this for a little bit, and this is the first step in all of this, and it was
Yeah.
promised in emails to at least the planning board chair that once the town has some kind of draft here, which we don't at this point, we haven't actually accepted this and we're still making changes tonight, you'll definitely have a copy of it. And, I would hope that we would send it to them to get it back for the public hearings and whatnot. So just to address, obviously, that would be part of the process. So this came from multiple different things. We've had multiple conversations about this. We have a ZBA that has more members than they're supposed to. We have kind of two sections within our code. When it comes to alternates, we don't really have a defined process of the requirement that is a training requirement for both of these boards of how they're actually supposed to report that, or how the town keeps an eye on that to make sure we're compliant. So the idea behind this is to take those two sections that are very vague, move them into one section within our code that makes sense, and then address some of those areas that haven't been addressed of, training. There's sometimes been issues with attendance, where whenever we put these positions out, there's usually multiple people looking to be appointed, and a lot of other towns have some sort of attendance requirements, and also just how alternates are used. And also the second law there, which we'll get to, is actually creating alternates for the Fire Advisory Board. So tonight would be just making any changes that we have to the wording, getting a final draft of everything, and later on in the meeting, we have resolutions to actually set the public hearings, which is required, which then will, hopefully by that time, as far as I know, we're not setting it until the first meeting in June, so we have an entire month for planning and zoning to give us their input, and for residents to look this over and then participate in the process where we listen to your comments. But at this point, we don't even have a finalized draft language. That's why none of these boards have it in front of them. So there was one thing I wanted to, that was brought up by Mary Meyer tonight, 98, 95. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it in here. It's section A, 2A, and it just talks about, it's kind of weird what we have to do here because we currently have a board of 7, and we should only have a board of 5 on the ZBA. So we have to put language in there of how we're going to transition at the end of the year to 5 members. The question is at the end there, if there are more than 5 members whose terms extend into 2025, the members with the least time on the board shall be changed to alternates or removed from the board to ensure a 5-member board. So the question was, we allow 2 alternates right now. Do we need to add language in here of if they're moved to alternates, then what we would do with the alternates that are currently there?
Yeah, so it's a little odd. So the state law allows ZBAs to be either 3 or 5 members, and for some reason ours is 7 members, and it seemed like to comply with the state law it made more sense to become 5 members. But right now we have 7 members. So what I was trying to think through when I wrote that, and it's definitely open to change, is that at the end of this year, one person's term will end. So we'll have 1 fewer member going into the new year. So in theory, there might be 1 person whose term still continues into the new year, unless somebody leaves or something else happens. And so then, that person could, we would have to, what I suggested here was that the person with the least time on the board would be either made into an alternate or removed. But then in theory, if there were already 2 alternates whose terms extend into the new year, which I'm not sure if that's the case. So I tried to leave it sort of like open because we're not really sure what will happen between now and the end of the year. But if we're in a position where we're lucky enough to have more than 5 members and 2 alternates, then somebody would have to, step down for the time being or move to a different position within the town to get us to that 5-member board.
Actually, right now there's an alternate that expires at the end of this year.
Okay.
There's actually 2 ZBA members that expire at the end of the
Okay,
year.
so it might just solve itself.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
we weren't leaving that gray area there. So that's all I have. I know other people have comments.
Could I just quickly explain like what's in here, just for everyone? So I did want to point out too that, what this law is doing is deleting Chapter 20 that's currently in the town code, which is mainly about planning board alternates, and then integrating that alternate language into the zoning code so that it's all in one place in the zoning code. And I do have a red line version of the zoning code changes because there's a lot in here for the sections of the zoning code that we're changing. Rather than try to tell the code people to like delete this and add that, we just put in a whole new section, but a lot of it is not changed from what's already in the code. So I do have a red line version if that helps for the zoning sections. So in the zoning sections, we add some material both for the planning board and the zoning board of appeals for alternates, how they're used, how they participate, and then also we add a new Chapter 20 for the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals stating attendance and training requirements. And I did also want to point out that state law allows towns to supersede state law for things that are part of our own management of our government. And so the town is already superseding state law in a sense, because state law only allows the use of alternates for a conflict of interest, not for an absence, but the town is already allowing them for absences. So in order to make all of our rules make sense, we have to continue to supersede state law, because we're having that, which many towns do. It's not uncommon, but a lot of towns use alternates for when there's someone absent, not just when someone has to recuse themselves. So that's why you'll see the language in there about superseding state law. Yeah, so I just wanted to run through that. And if there are any things that the board wants to change now before it's introduced and set for a public hearing, we can do that. And then we can certainly change things after the public hearing as well. Yeah.
I have Chapter 20, 20-1, and it's, wait a minute. Yeah, it's N. I would like to have that changed to a quarterly basis instead of an annual basis. The Planning Board and ZBA Secretary shall also keep records of the attendance of board members at meetings and shall provide attendance records to the town clerk and the town board on a quarterly basis. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, so you're more than welcome to chime in. And I don't know where it is in here, because I can't find it right now, and I forgot to underline it, but I would like to see 2 board members and then a board member from the planning board or zoning or fire board to be part of the interviews when we have to put somebody else on the board. So I would like, I know that's a little overwhelming for some people. You got 3 people interviewing you for 15 minutes, but I just think it would be better in the long run if we had one of the board members from each one of those boards with us.
Would you have that be the chair?
Yeah, it can be the chair, or it can be anybody that they want to designate to sit with us, that has the time to be able to come and be part of it.
It makes sense. They know more about the codes and the ZBA and the planning, so it makes sense to have that.
And Rob and Bill, you don't have to, if you need to leave, you can.
So as far as appointing new members, statutorily, that's the town board's responsibility, but it's very common to invite the board members to be part of the process. I haven't normally seen that in the law. It's usually just a practice that that boards apply. Do you want to write it into the law, or just?
We haven't been doing it, so that's why I think that, I think it would be better if it was written into the law.
Okay.
And then that way, there's nobody can say one way or the other in another year after I'm gone. Or we're all gone, whatever.
Can you do that and make a preference that you want someone from the board, but preferably the chairman or chairwoman, but it can be someone else? To me, it should be the chair, but makes the most sense.
Yeah, it would be nice to have the chairperson of each one, or someone that they designate at the time, because maybe they can't make the appointments during the day or whenever we're interviewing, something like that. I don't know if there are co-chairs. There aren't, right? No. Yeah. Any more discussion on Law A? Okay, so another new business, we have the proposed local law B of 2024. which is amending the Chapter 48 of the Town Code to establish alternate members and specify terms and attendance requirements for Fire Protection Advisory Board. So, first off, I would like to see the Fire Advisory Board would like to see us change their title to the Town of Pleasant Valley Fire and Life Safety Review Board. And then the other thing that we probably should do is, there's 3 residents on this board, and there's the fire chief, the fire inspector, there's 2 fire department staff, and then there's 2, we're putting in here to make a position for 2 alternates. The 3 residents that are on here, we should probably give a 3-year term to each one of them so we can stagger the years of them, because if they all come up at one time, it's very difficult to interview and get everybody done at the same time. The fire chief, of course, changes because that's what happens every year or every couple of years. The fire inspector is from our office in here, which can also change. And the fire department people can also change. So the 3 residents are the ones that we would have to designate specific years to. And then the 2 alternates would be a 2-year position.
Okay, so the way this has been in the past, I didn't add this, all appointments are at the pleasure of the town board, meaning that you can add or remove people at any time, so they're not specific lengths of time that they're appointed for. And the town board has traditionally done it annually. And so what I added was the town board may choose to appoint members annually or for terms of up to 2 years. Do you want, that's in number 3, it's under C3. So you want to change that to that the 3 town board appointments.
That covers this paragraph here covers the residents, correct? Okay.
But you want it to be 3 years?
Well, just so that we can stagger them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now is not a good thing, because when you can't stagger all these people, you get, a lot of people at one time that you have to try to, and it's not really as easy as everybody thinks to find somebody. So I would rather it be 3 years. But that's listen, it's up to everybody, not just up to me, so.
I'm just wondering, are you all hoping to make these changes on the spot and still adopt these and set the public hearings tonight? Or do you want me to come back with another draft at the next meeting?
Well, we can come back with another draft and still keep right, Mary Beth? And keep the June 3rd or not? We could still do the June 3rd? Okay.
If we set it at the next meeting, instead of setting it tonight?
So what you're asking is, if we have to make all of these changes, does it make sense to set a public hearing without those changes made now, or the language worked out, and should we wait till the next meeting to?
Yeah, I'd feel a little more comfortable if I could go back and
There's a
just
lot of
type it
stuff.
up so
That makes
that
sense.
we're not messing anything up.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I think we might have 3 weeks in between the next time, right? Because
No, it's 2.
Oh, okay.
But we can always,
No, and
we can make it in June
Okay,
at
the
some.
second
Yeah,
June
the
meeting?
second, right.
All right, so,
Right.
so what, just tell me what you're trying to do then, and I'll write the language. You want it to be
Well,
3 years for the.
It's got, is
members.
everybody in agreement with what I was talking about? I mean, you don't have to agree with me. Jennifer? Okay, so I'd like to change the name of the Fire Advisory Board to the Town of Pleasant Valley Fire and Life Safety Review Board.
Yep.
And then for the 3 residents in the chapter, number 3 there. No, where are we? Yeah. To 3 years, for terms up to 3 years.
Okay.
And then, does it have a spot in there for the alternates for the years? Yes, it already
terms
has
up to
that.
2
Never
years,
mind,
yeah.
that's already in there, sorry, thank you.
Great. And the provision about the interviews, that's for planning board, zoning board, and fire board?
Yes, I would like it to be for all 3 boards. I think we should stay uniform across the board with that. And it can read the chair, but I guess you could put, vice chair, is it?
Chair or their designee?
Or their
How about that?
designee, yeah. Does the board have any other comments? No? Okay. So we will go on to 12C, which is the construction at Bower Park, and Councilman Reifenberg is going to update everyone.
All right, so this past week, the bid closed for Bower Park. We received 4 bidders. There was one that was significantly lower than the other 3. All of you have seen, hopefully, the letter from our town engineer from a couple days ago recommending what he thinks we should do. And so I just wanted to explain why we're waiting to award a bid, and we don't have a resolution for that tonight. So when we put this bid package together, obviously there was the basic stuff that needed to get done. So putting the driveway in, there was the parking spaces, the timber parking stops, all of that stuff, no matter what we were going to do. But we put in a bunch of alternates, about 8 of them, to get prices back for certain things. One thing was running electric into the park, because at the time there was talks about potentially using Bower Park as a site to bring water into a water district, which obviously we have a better option now. So we got pricing on running electric back there. There's been talks about lights and other things there. So we also put in refreshing the existing parking lot and the drive out to Ravine Road with crushed stone. We didn't include that in the bid, so we can know how much that would be, and if we want to, it gave us the option to add that in or not. Provide clean fill in the cleared area, and then there's 2 trees that we had the tree removal company leave. They're bigger trees. They're right by the entrance, if you're looking at the entrance on the left. We didn't want them taken down just in case there's a way we can work around them and leave them there. So we got a price for that as well. So what Greg is recommending, and I think it's something that I would ask of the board, is to end up awarding the base bid, but then to also do the refresh on the existing parking lot and the road out to Ravine Road, so everything is new. And then to also pave the exit onto Ravine Road, which is going to be moved anyway, so it hits Ravine at a 90-degree angle, but to pave that as well, which we got a pretty good price for. The highway department is actually going to provide a bunch of fill into that cleared area, so there's no sense of paying for that. They have fill that they have to get rid of. The one thing we're trying to figure out is the electric coming in on the new entryway off of North Avenue. So the one neighbor there has 2 telephone poles that are on the town's property, that their electric lines connect from North Avenue to their house. This first one actually has their electrical meter on our property, which is very odd. Normally your electric meter would be on your own property. So we're working with Central Hudson to figure out what the best solution is for us and the neighbor. The original plan was to put the power underground. The neighbor has said they would rather be above ground, but then we're dealing with trees and whatnot. So before we award this we want to take at least maybe another week and work with Central Hudson and the neighbor and figure out exactly what we want to do. And then maybe do a special meeting if we have something. If not, at the next meeting, award the contract instead of kind of rushing into this. Does anybody have any objections to, so the apron coming off the exit onto Ravine Road, I guess it's like normal code now to pave a certain amount. That's why we want to pave that. And there's a lot of potholes and stuff that need to be fixed on the existing stuff, so. But it's within the budget that we set anyway, so we kind of were planning on all this. Everybody good where we're at right now? Okay, cool. So I'll have an update once we get Central Hudson and all that stuff squared away.
Thank you, Micah. Okay,
I
so
did
you're,
ask
oh, go
Warren
ahead.
to check the title search for if there's an easement. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing is I saw that. Thank you, Emily. We're trying to find out if there's an easement for the poles. It's just kind of a weird situation. We had an electrical person that does this all the time out there, and it's very odd having the poles on our property with the meter, and so we got to get that all squared away.
Okay, number 13 was old business discussion. And Councilman Reifenberg is going to give an update on the new town hall.
All right, so this is our monthly update. It's been a crazy month. Councilman Apicino and myself have been meeting multiple times a week, at least once a week, with CPL and the design team. We're still on track to have 90% drawings in hand on May 24th, so within the next couple of weeks. The plan is they're going to deliver us the drawings, but they're also then going to send it through their QCAC team, which is their quality control. We're doing that for the fact of trying to speed everything up, is we can start looking through them and see if there's any big obvious things that we need them to change on the spot there, while their quality control people start, making sure it's cleaned up before we send this thing out to bid. So that will be coming here in the next couple weeks. We had a meeting with the plumbing engineer. They have an entire water treatment system designed, which is required. The water has to be drinkable in the new town hall. So because of that, the code requires 2 water fountains together, one ADA and one higher. I'm sure you guys have all seen them before. We had them add a bottle filler. And the idea was to put it downstairs in the lobby of the meeting room and the courtroom. And then we had a conversation of, can we add one upstairs? Because as you guys know, we pay weekly or monthly to bring bottled water into the current town hall. So the plan now is to put a bottle filler and a water fountain upstairs as well. So the town will save money in the long run of not having to constantly purchase water and have it delivered to town hall. So that was good to see. Let me just look through here. Also, if you've been in our bathrooms here, you turn the water on, you could leave it running. Energy code doesn't allow that anymore, so the faucets are going to be ones. There's a whole conversation, a lengthy conversation about censored versus mechanical non-censored faucets. During COVID, obviously censored became very popular. But what's happened is that over time, they've realized that they don't last very long. You have to change batteries out, or they have to be hardwired. They used a good example if New York State put all these censored hand washing sinks in their rest stops, and if you walk in and look at them, you'll see like 3 or 4 different brands of them because they've been swapping them out because they break. So Councilman Apicino and myself, we, with their assistance, came to the conclusion that we probably, to save costs for the town, in the long run, is to go with more of a mechanical. There's less things to break, there's less maintenance on them, they're going to last a lot longer. They make them so that it's a push down. It gives you 6 to 8 seconds of mixed water. Let's see. There's conversations into details like the soap, what kind of, how we're going to deal with the soap. So we decided in the long run to put the soap on the sink so it's not going down the wall or ending up on the floor, especially down in the court, in the meeting area. We had meetings with the electrical engineers. Actually, we have a meeting tomorrow morning to follow up. We have a second meeting. We've already met with them once. There was some confusion with them on the second floor. The first floor is going to have a drop ceiling, obviously because we have more height. The second floor is going to be more, it's going to be a solid ceiling, so we're working with them to figure out the lighting for that. All right, everybody's favorite topic, the kitchen. So let's stir the pot here a little bit. Let me bring this over here. Okay. I can't see, so. Oh, boy. Give me one sec. Let me see if I can make that. There we go. Okay, so there was a couple issues that led us to really rethinking the first floor in the meeting room. One was where the previous design had the kitchen was, let me see if I can zoom in here. If y'all remember, this is the meeting room. The previous design had the kitchen over here behind basically where we're sitting. And that, imagine that door would be the doorway to the kitchen. And it originally had a serving window that would be here. As you can imagine, it's not the most realistic way of having it, especially with the microphones and all the AV stuff. Also, we were getting issues with getting makeup air into the kitchen. That's on the back wall, which is underground, plus it's right below the lobby and the foyer walking in upstairs, so we're having issues with that. Also, the mechanical room, which is off to the right there, is designed a little too small for what they expected, so we were going to have to move that wall and make the kitchen smaller. So what we've actually done is over here, if y'all remember, when you walked in, this was actually out kind of in this direction, and the lobby was a lot smaller. And over here was a security office, which had windows and a desk and everything. And then this kind of went out a little further. There was a hallway that ran over and connected into here. And then there was a little closet that had a mop sink in it. And then there was storage for the chairs and the tables and stuff like that. So what we did is we worked with CPL and the architects to kind of redesign this. They had wasted space kind of over here. They threw in a coffee nook, which they had a little sink. We're never going to use that. It was kind of a waste of time and money. So what we've done is we got rid of the hallway. We've moved the mop sink into a little closet here. Instead of an office for the constables, really talking to them, their biggest thing was being able to leave their gear here in a locked, secure spot, their vests, and having a place of their own where they can put stuff down while they're working here. So we've changed this more into a secure closet for them that they'll only have access to. And then we move the kitchen over here. What that does is that takes the serving window and puts it kind of out of view over here. We also downsized this kitchen. The big debate was that this was going to be a commercial kitchen, and where that all came from was currently in Town Hall we have a stovetop and an oven, and it's used for making hot chocolate for Festival of Lights. The seniors like to bring food in and heat it up for their friends. They sometimes get stuff catered from Madison, so they'll throw it in there and keep it warm. So we've figured with the community space downstairs, we might want to expand senior programming, whatnot. So there was a real big push that we wanted at least just something to keep stuff warm or to heat things up. Well, come to find out, if you look at the laws, like, you're not supposed to realistically make stuff and then come serve it to the public. You're not really supposed to have a bake sale anymore. You're not supposed to do any of that stuff unless it's made in a commercial kitchen. So we kind of have a responsibility to, if we're going to allow that stuff, which is a discussion for much further down the road, how we want to handle that. So what we've done is, if you looked at the previous one, they had put in a warming oven, which was kind of a waste. So we've brought this down to the basics. So you have a basic stove and an oven, you have a basic refrigerator, and you have a hand wash sink and a 3-bay sink. Those are the bare minimums to qualify as a commercial kitchen. You also need ventilation and fire suppressant over the oven, which we'll have. But We basically are not going to have it certified with the Department of Health as a commercial kitchen, but what we can do is, if we needed to use this as a emergency shelter for weeks on end, because we'll have a generator and all that stuff, we can get a temporary permit, and we would qualify for that because we're prepared for that. But the idea is not to have constant inspections and have this certified as a commercial kitchen. Also, just from a security standpoint here, moving that security office and taking this kind of area and cleaning this wall up, the way it's set up now is they stand out there during court, right, which is by the metal detector. People, the redesigned flow of traffic during court nights is they are going to come in, there's going to be a queue here, and then they're going to go through the metal detector, and then they're going to end up in the courtroom. They're not going to be held up in here and then moved over to the courtroom. All of that stuff kind of blocked and kind of made a little area over here where they couldn't easily see. So that's kind of cleaned up this wall as well. And there you can see the water fountain and the bottle filler. But that's what we've been working on. So I just want to plug here Councilman Apicino. He has been working literally 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and Climate Smart, just everybody's really rallying together to get this moving forward. And CPL, they're stepping up, and I'm excited. I think we're truly on track to hopefully get this done by late next year.
I really like that kitchen idea, because having it behind us during the meetings, I thought was like just ridiculous.
Well, it didn't
I
make
really-
sense.
No, it didn't. It didn't make sense at all. So that was a good redesign, and I think that that had a lot to do with the two of you, so kudos for that.
Any suggestions or comments or anything you guys want to bring up to us while we're moving through all of this? We will have, let me see, we will not have the drawings by the next meeting, but in between the next meeting and the first meeting in June, we will have drawings and start looking them over and whatnot.
Nice job.
Just
Thank you,
wanted to
Michael.
add, what we're going to do is leaf through the drawings sheet by sheet, go through the entire specifications. In the meantime, CPL is having their quality review people also look at the drawings, and if we see anything that stands out that needs to be fixed or added, that's the time we'll do it.
Okay, so thank both of you. 13B is in reference to potholes on Saw Point Turnpike. Dan?
Yeah, so first, I apologize in advance because you all are going to hear my voice a lot for the next 20 minutes or so. I just wanted to check, so nobody has this letter, right? This wasn't in the packet? Is it? I didn't see it. Okay, all right. So I was going to say, then I should just read it. But so what this is, you can see it. I wanted to write a letter to Senator Hinchy, Assembly Member Barrett, Lance McMillan from the DOT, and Dutchess County Executive Sue Serino. The last meeting, it just become obvious. The roads were out of control. There's an area right near here that was really bad. So I wanted to write a letter to put them on notice, and I was out taking pictures on a Saturday, and for the purpose of the letter, some things went backwards. They came out on Monday and patched all the holes that I complained about. So if I was a smart politician, I would have tried to take credit for that. But so the first thing I had to tell is a lot of people that saw that's not a repair. That's not what we consider a pavement. I guess they have to do that. But I think it was you, Mr. Veeder, that mentioned that it's 3 layers down. It is 3 layers down. You see 3 levels of, I've never seen anything like it. I don't know if you can see the photos, but the photos do it justice. There were some potholes that were like 4 or 5 inches deep. And the bigger issue was that you can't miss them. They're tired, so that people have the choice either to hit the potholes or to cross the lane. It's a disaster zone. So, okay, so they paved the road, that's great. That is not victory, so I don't want anybody, I'm not doing backflips and nobody else is. The point of this is, I just want them on notice. I want everyone here to know that we're watching, I'm watching. It's on the schedule, it has to get done. It can't get pushed, it can't get delayed. That part, that's just the first part, but we absolutely have to hold them to this, because really the road never should have gotten to that level. It's really pretty bad. So I'll spare you reading the letter, you can read it yourself, but we're on this. We're gonna send this letter. I might have to change it just to make it more current, but we're on it.
Well, the good thing is that they called here and informed me that Saw Point Turnpike was going to be done from, I believe it's Wigston Road to, pardon? To the Parkway, to the Taconic. Thank you, Gary. And they're on the schedule to start that process sometime in July, probably more towards the end of July. That project will be done during the day. Okay, so we'll go on to number 14, Resolutions 14A. I'd like to ask for a motion to accept Resolution 500 of 2024, amending Town Board Resolution Number 149 of 2023, waiving Hometown Heroes project fees for families of service members killed in action.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd like to ask for a motion for Board Resolution 501 of 2024, with this resolution accepting donated topsoil for Helen Aldridge Park from Snow Fountain Supply Company, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Really
Any-
quick.
yeah.
Can we just get a quick explanation of what this is for? And should we have a dollar amount on here? Because we're kind of just, I'm sure they're going to take this and write whatever they want off.
I didn't even,
I don't think we should establish that. That's up to them.
Okay.
We're just
So we can
accepting
accept this without it. I know in the past, like, we got the rocks donated for the memorial down here.
Mhm.
It had to have a dollar amount, so I just want to make sure that,
I don't think.
Okay.
I understand, yeah.
okay. And what's this for?
Well, we had to have
This
a dollar
is-
amount for the survey. And the architect stuff. So do we need to check on that?
Yeah, we
Not
were told we had to
Sure
have a
why
dollar
we
amount.
would need that.
I don't care either way, that's what we were told, that's why we did it that way. Didn't matter, it's already done, so.
this is for Baker Field at Helen Aldridge. And it was they dug through the middle of Baker Field to put the water and electric line through. And this was to help top it off so that they could seed it and put straw on it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to ask for a motion for Town Board Resolution 503, which is the resolution commencing the local law adoption process for proposed Law A of 2024, a local law amending Chapter 20 and 98 to specify training and attendance requirements for members of the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, and change the number of ZBA members and specify the use of alternate members for both boards.
I'll make a motion to table this resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'd like to make a motion to accept the Resolution 504, 2024, resolution commencing local law adoption process for proposed local law B of 2024, the local law amending Chapter 48 of the Town Code to establish alternate members and specify terms and attendance requirements for the Fire Protection Advisory Board.
I'll make a motion to table this resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I would like to ask for a motion for Resolution 505 of 2024, authorizing contract with Delaware Engineering for water study and amending the 2024 general fund budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to allow Resolution 506, 2024 onto the agenda.
Second.
So, sorry. Sorry. Missed it. Pardon? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Were you going to read it?
Thanks for accepting it. Yeah, so, yeah.
Oh,
I have
okay. I'm
a
sorry.
couple prepared statements. So I'm not one for prepared statements, but this topic requires it. So before I start, I'd like to just acknowledge my fellow board members, our town clerk, and our highway superintendent. I'm very thankful for the work and contribution of all of you. We're working together, we're compromising, we're being civil, respectful, we're putting progress before politics, we're getting things done. None of this has been easy, but all of it has been worth it, and I just want to thank you very much, and I hope you feel the same way about my contribution, and more importantly, I hope you let me know if you don't feel the same way. I ran for 3 reasons: to contribute to making Pleasant Valley the best it can be, because lately it was starting to feel like this town had given up; to prioritize our kids and young adults so we show them that they matter; and to create a peaceful community where everyone feels they are both welcome and safe. And it's on this third topic that I want to focus right now. There are things in our past we've not fully atoned for, and when that happens, when those wounds are not appropriately addressed, they continue to fester, sending a message to the offenders that it's okay and to the victims that it doesn't matter. So I'd like to come back now and try to reset this once and for all so that Pleasant Valley can move forward for everyone. What prompted this, and if you saw it, you already know what I'm talking about, and if you didn't, I'm glad you didn't, but there was a pretty disgusting video a week or so out that was out. And it moved me to write this and to do what I'm doing now. If you've not heard, literally right down the street from our monument to Purple Heart veterans, including those who died fighting Nazis in World War II, an individual felt comfortable enough to stand next to the road making a Nazi salute. Disgusting and infuriating. I, for one, as I assume all of you are, and I know all of you are, I'm tired of Pleasant Valley making headlines for all the wrong reasons. This is not the town we live in, but this is how we are perceived to many, both within our town and outside. Let's change this. Let's flood the internet with the good things about this town, not the bad. The Purple Heart town status, the food bank, the library, the volunteer firefighters, our wonderful rec department, and Climate Smart, to name a few. This is who we are. And on a different note, I think partially it starts when basic laws of civility start to erode. And I'm happy to say that this board has returned civility back to where we thought it wasn't possible before. Over the last couple years, we've grown accustomed to signs and bumper stickers that we never would have been considered acceptable in years past, even to the point of a Christmas parade for kids being tarnished with vulgarity. And I'd like to be crystal clear, this is not a freedom of speech issue. People have always had the freedom to be crude, they just chose not to exercise that right. I'd also like to be crystal clear, this isn't about politics. I 1000% support anyone's right to be critical of our leaders. They need it. And it also proves that we don't live in Russia. But there was a time when we had common decency and we would all be outraged about something that made our collective town look trashy. What about the kids that have to see this every single day? When those basic structures of civility start to decay, it leaves an opening to be filled with far worse, as we just saw. And believe it or not, I actually have something else I have to read. It's called The Story of Two Pleasant Valleys. I know a place called Pleasant Valley, where the pleasant never ends, where politics are simple and everyone on Facebook are friends. That was a joke, that bombed. And though we're pleasant as they come and things usually turn out swell, it's also a place where in some disagreements people might tell you to go to hell in Aldrich Park, hell in Aldrich Park, hell in Aldrich Park. Our streams and creeks and hills and fields, beautiful in every way. People actually come from far and wide to experience what we see for free every day. I know a place called Pleasant Valley. Over hundreds of years we've spanned, a place where people are friendly and kind and always willing to lend a hand. And in this place called Pleasant Valley, there's a food bank that delivers hope, giving people a ray of light who are just trying to find a way to cope. I know a place called Pleasant Valley with coaches and volunteers galore. If you want something to fill your time with, soccer, basketball, arts, crafts, scouts, fishing, playgrounds, and more. And I see the Climate Smart Committee protecting our land and air. And I see our volunteer fire department, so thankful they are there. I see the Purple Heart flag flying, thanking those who served, acknowledging the sacrifice, appreciation so deserved. And as one walks through Pleasant Valley, they'll see a theme unfold. A kindness, a warmness, a gesture, pleasant, friendly, not cold. See, this is the Pleasant Valley I see, and I'm sure you see it too. But now with concern, I raise the alarm because I've learned that two things can be true. After a simple internet search, it's troubling to find stories about Pleasant Valley, stories of a terrible kind. A march led by a black veteran resident, full of elderly people and kids, attacked and abused for simply marching. Tell me, what was it that they did? And after that march, mostly silence, no outrage, arrests, or outcry, and we wonder why dogs of this sort will not simply and easily lie. That said, a resolution was drafted, which basically said, racism is bad, do you agree? And while the resolution did in fact pass, it wasn't with 5 votes, but with 3. What kind of message do you think this sent to those who were hurt the most? To the people who I saw with tears in their eyes? We should have been worried about them first. When hate is unaddressed and unchallenged and allowed to fester and pollute, I'm not sure we should act surprised when we see someone in Pleasant Valley giving a Nazi salute. So now we're once again at a crossroads, a true choice for who reside. Which Pleasant Valley do you want to be part of? Which one brings you pride? I know you see the true Pleasant Valley. You see what's in our heart. So I'm asking you to join me. I'm asking you to play a part. This is beyond stupid politics and the same old tired song. This is not about red versus blue. This is about right versus wrong. Now is not the time for silence, and I know I'm not alone. It's time for us to be loud and clear when we say in our Pleasant Valley, hate has no home. Thank you.
Great.
Somebody else wants to read it.
No, I'll read it for you. Councilman Deegan and I, we were talking, I don't know, a week ago or right after the news broke that this happened to be in Pleasant Valley, and we had a great conversation. And it just happened that I had wrote a resolution about a month ago that I wasn't sure when it would be something that we would address. And I hope we can pass this resolution tonight. I'll read it. I'll move that the Town Board Resolution 506 of 2024, resolution reaffirming our commitment to rejecting hate, discrimination, and intolerance in all of its forms. Whereas the Town Board of Pleasant Valley is committed to fostering an inclusive and welcoming community for all residents, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, nationality, or any other characteristic. Whereas the Town Board of Pleasant Valley believes in the dignity and worth of every individual and recognizes that diversity is one of our community's greatest strengths. Whereas recent events have underscored the importance of reaffirming our commitment to rejecting hate and intolerance in all of its forms, now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of Pleasant Valley that 1, the Town Board of Pleasant Valley unequivocally condemns all forms of hate and bigotry. 2, the Town Board of Pleasant Valley reaffirms its commitment to creating a safe and inclusive environment where everyone feels valued, respected, and supported. And 3, the Town Board of Pleasant Valley calls upon all residents, businesses, organizations, and institutions within our community to join us in rejecting hate. So moved.
Second.
And I just want to also point out that, you know, to Councilman Deegan's point, is that first vision of Pleasant Valley, that's what we all see, right? That's all what we all want. But we all play a part in that. It starts the simple little things, Facebook, you know, social media. It's so easy to get on there and just tear each other apart. If we just go back to the basics of just being kind, and we're all neighbors, and we all disagree, I'm sure, on many things, and just treat each other kindly, it's going to bring us a lot further than trying to cut each other down. And it's just crazy that we even have to address this. But I also want to point out that last night, and it's just about to end, today is the Holocaust Remembrance Day. So it's actually pretty crazy that we're passing this resolution on that day, where this sparked from somebody doing the Nazi salute and saying some vulgar language about a place. It's pretty crazy, the timing of all this. So thank you, Dan, for putting this all together.
Thank you, Dan. I know you and I have worked very closely, too, about getting this dealt with ASAP.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Glad you got to that point, by the way. I was waiting for that.
15B is Earth Day tally. This year we did something a little different, where we had people come in and sign up and fill out volunteer forms for specific roads. Instead of doing it on one day, it was for the whole month of April. It actually worked out very well this way. So the orange bags were left on the side of the road. They would call. Our highway department was amazing with this whole thing. They collected 75 orange bags, 26 tires, all types of things from tents to bike frames to pillows and, wooden fences, toys, and carpet pieces. But versus last year, where there were 12 families that signed up for the one day, the garbage collected was only 53 bags. So we were happy with the additional bags this year, and we hope going forward that we can continue doing it this way, and that even more people will get involved next year. Okay, we have 15C, resolution. I'd like to ask for a motion to accept Resolution 507 of 2024, which is a resolution authorizing agreement with Arlington School District for field use and maintenance at West Road.
So I'll make a motion to allow this on the agenda.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion for Resolution 507.
Second.
Any other discussion about this agreement?
Good
That's
job.
a great job doing it. That was going to hurt the kids, and you got it done. We were about to
All in
lose those
favor?
kids.
Aye.
Aye.
Is that to put on the agenda, or is that the actual?
That's actually, yeah, sorry.
No, I just missed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to open the agenda for public comment for non-agenda items only. One time, 3 minutes per person, please.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good evening, Gully Stanford, 181 Marshall Road. Forgive me, I'm actually quite moved by the action you've just taken. I know we're meant not to be commenting on the agenda, but you make me, as a 10-year resident of Pleasant Valley, very proud to have a town board here unequivocally opposed to any bigotry, hatred, or racism. Thank you so much for that. I think you should put a plaque up on the wall saying that the 6th of May 2024 was a historic day in our community, and let's hope we live up to the principles you've espoused today. My reason coming on non-agenda items actually has to do with safety. So we've addressed civility, but as you know, over the past couple of years, there have been questions about the enforcement of speeding and actually the appropriateness of the speed limits on some of our town, and I'm afraid to say also county roads. This is complicated, and it is very difficult for individual residents really to find their way into this maze of responsibilities for trying to keep our roads safe. Marshall Road is one. You'll be hearing later this evening about Netherwood Road, which quite honestly is an accident waiting to happen. Mr. Aldridge spoke up here about 9 months ago about speeding past the schools, and I believe steps have been taken at Traver Road, I think, to enforce the speed limit, or at least promote the speed limit there. Alas, that's not true on Netherwood Road, at Netherwood Road School as well. Steps need to be taken. We don't really know what to do. I wrote a letter. I sent it to the supervisor. I sent it to John Baxter. I sent it to Dee Dee Barrett. I sent it to the school board, both the Arlington and the Hyde Park, and I sent it to the sheriff's office because obviously we don't have our own police department. Only Brennan Carney, our legislator, was the only one who responded, and her response was that this is complicated. So I'm coming before you this evening to ask you as the town board to say that the safety of the people of our roads is now in question. As you'll hear later this evening, Netherwood Road is, I believe, set at 45 miles an hour, but actually people zoom by there at 55 miles an hour, and you'll be seeing some evidence of damage, which could well have been a child waiting for a school bus hit by people speeding through there. I think this needs a serious look. I don't know who takes the lead on it because there are so many jurisdictions involved here, but I would hope that the town board, which does care about the pleasantness of Pleasant Valley, would take the lead on this. Thank you.
Just to let you know, I have written to the county about Netherwood Road and spoken to John Baxter about Marshall Road.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Atkinson, and I moved to Netherwood Road approximately a year and a half ago. I'm here to discuss a problem that's plaguing the roads of Pleasant Valley, and in particular Netherwood Road. Pleasant Valley, as some of you may be aware, has a serious issue with excessive speeding and reckless driving. Frankly, on the roads, Pleasant Valley is not a kind place. The speeding, the problems with excessive speeding and reckless driving are exacerbated by speed limits that are far higher than they should be on residential roads. Netherwood Road is the type of road that, when one thinks of living in the Hudson Valley, comes to mind. It's picturesque, as many of you know, with its curves, its hills, its scenery, and in portions of it, it's a wildlife thoroughfare. Those who are seeking to enjoy this beauty use it to walk or cycle, and because it's considered an important area for seeing certain bird species, it's frequented by birders throughout the Hudson Valley. Sadly, Netherwood Road and surrounding roads are treated as a race course by drivers who think nothing of coming over its hills at speeds far exceeding the 45-mile-per-hour speed limit, and drivers who think nothing of drag racing on this road or recklessly passing others in double yellows. In fact, on our way here, we experienced that very issue. These drivers know that the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office is overburdened by other issues. They know that driving in such a manner will bring no consequences. I've witnessed far too many close calls to count, as birders have stood on the sides of the road looking at rare migratory species, with drivers speeding by mere feet away. Some birders have shared that stepping out onto Netherwood Road amounts to taking one's life into one's own hands. Throughout the region, people know that Netherwood is beset by speed limits that are excessive and speeding issues. that the speed limit on Netherwood, a road that was designed for small vehicles, is far greater than it should be is obvious to many of us who live here. A bit of research shows that many of our roads throughout Dutchess were never meant to serve as the highways that they've now become for commercial vehicles and heavy-duty pickup trucks, and they were certainly not meant for these vehicles to be traveling at such high speeds. 45 miles per hour is far too fast for Netherwood. Given the road design and the speed and the weight of many of the vehicles, there's no way that drivers, even when they choose to obey the speed limits, can slow down enough or even stop if there is a human or an animal on the road. As a mother and as a taxpayer, I want to make it very clear to those of you here tonight that driver convenience and a desire to drive quickly should not outweigh the right of those of us who live on Netherwood or those of us who want to enjoy the beauty of that area to safely use this road. To be clear, pedestrian and cycling deaths are at an all-time high. They're at a 40-year high in the United States. But cities, towns, and villages throughout America and throughout New York are addressing this issue. But yet here in Pleasant Valley, when I speak to individuals, we're told this is part of the culture, that it should be accepted, that change is difficult, it's complicated. I refuse to accept that change can't be made. Given the current level of reckless driving on Netherwood, it's only a matter of time before one of us or one of our children become casualties. And why should we wait until an inevitable human death occurs before we make an easy but necessary change? The speed limit on Netherwood Road and on other roads throughout Pleasant Valley needs to be reduced. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Arabella Pajuhi, a 12-year-old birder, nature lover, and aspiring conservation biologist, and I live on Netherwood Road. Although I may be young, in my 12 years, I have witnessed many of the problems that our planet is facing. From the loss of biodiversity, loss of habitat, to the changing of our ecological systems by roads and reckless drivers. On an almost weekly basis, my parents and I, who are both here today, bury other animals that have been unnecessarily murdered by drivers on our road. As I have been birding on Netherwood Road, I've had drivers speed up or swerve closer to me, as if they're trying to tell me to get away from their road. It is as if they are saying that I can't be allowed near the road because I'm not a driver, and instead a pedestrian. In their view, the road belongs to them, and I, like the other animals who use Netherwood Road, am a nuisance. If drivers were to slow down, so many deaths would be prevented. Dedan Stoner, a road ecologist, once wrote that all animals, if given a reasonable time to escape, will cause the hurried motorist little delay. This is so true. If individuals were forced to slow down just a bit, so many animals could avoid senseless deaths. There is no reason that in the year and a half that I've lived on Netherwood Road, my family and I have had to bury over 20 species of birds, countless mammals including fishers, opossum, raccoons, woodchucks, coyotes, squirrels, and reptiles and amphibians, all of which were struck by drivers who just couldn't be bothered to slow down. I'm frustrated that pickup trucks, cement trucks, and other such vehicles think that it is okay to drive so quickly and to show such little regard for nature and for human life. Last week, we managed to save a painted turtle that had been hit by a car. He's currently recovering and will return to our pond in several weeks, and will hopefully not be struck again. Last week, we also buried a female common grackle, a species of bird, who had a mate. She was struck by a speeding cement truck, and I know this because I saw her being struck. We moved from the city to the Hudson Valley, in part to escape busy roads, and yet I feel safer as a pedestrian in the city. Why is it that each time I step out on Netherwood Road, I fear for my safety, and multiple times a day, I walk down to check and see if creatures have been slaughtered by drivers who are driving far too quickly? For the safety of kids like me, and for the safety of other animals, please reduce the speed limit on Netherwood Road. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ash Bajui and I also reside at 862 Netherwood Road. You've just listened to my family speak passionately about a serious issue, and I'm equally as passionate about our collective safety and the safety of our other animal friends. Some of you know me, some of you do not. For those who do not know me and my experience, I have a background in real estate and urban planning. I've written city master plans, helped rezone neighborhoods, and participated in countless traffic studies throughout the Northeast region. That said, I understand traffic patterns, speed limits, and the dangers of speed limits that do not align with the surrounding land uses. This is one of those cases. Salt Point Turnpike, for example, is a busy road, and the speed limit there is 35, in some areas 40. I was on Route 9 earlier this morning, headed to Poughkeepsie, and that speed limit is 40 or 45, and they have 2 lanes going each way, a median and a shoulder. How can Netherwood, with its curves and hills and limited visibility, have such a high speed limit? How can the only posted speed limit sign next to the Netherwood Elementary School down the street be 45 miles an hour? It simply doesn't make any sense. And I'm not talking about a few miles over the speed limit for drivers. I'm talking about 15, 20 miles over the speed limit. We experience this on a regular basis, and we are past, as my wife indicated earlier, coming here this evening, we were past like we were standing still on the road, and we were going slightly below the speed limit. So this person was going 60, 65 miles an hour. We have a road whose speed limit does not match the surrounding residential land uses. A curvy and narrow road not designed for high-speed travel. It's also an active wildlife crossing, as my family has indicated. We have an active equestrian farm where horses cross across the street directly next to us, and a busy elementary school down the street. All these indicators clearly point to the need to reduce the speed limit. Rossway Road, their speed limit was recently lowered to 35 miles an hour in the past couple of months, and Netherwood, in comparison, has many more points that would dictate a lower speed limit. We're bearing animals hit by reckless driving on a daily basis. We were fortunate to rescue a female snapping turtle crossing the street in front of Netherwood a couple nights ago. This was Thursday of last week. A turtle about this size crossing the road. We stopped, put on our flashers, and helped her cross so she can likely lay eggs across the street. Why should all of us wait for a human casualty before we address this serious issue? I urge the town to take action and make our neighborhood safer for our community, our children, and our animal friends. Thank you.
Good evening. So I have several photos I'd like to disseminate. We're all going to be dreaming about Netherwood Road tonight. Hi, my name is Anna Way, and my husband and our 2 young children have lived at 693 Netherwood Road for the last 9 years. The majority of my career has been in investment banking, and I currently serve on the board of 2 local nonprofits. In the past 9 years, I have noticed a troubling uptick in excessive speeding on Netherwood. I've witnessed this because both my boys, Bodie, 12, Teo, 9, are picked up and dropped off by their bus at the base of our driveway. We also like to walk our dog on Marshall Road, which runs off of Netherwood, and I am an avid runner and hope to remain so. Unfortunately, I now find it too dangerous to run the half a mile to Gretna in fear that I may be struck by a vehicle. Most alarming is that this past winter, there were 2 consecutive accidents right in front of our home. Please refer to the pictures. These accidents happened minutes from when my 2 boys would have been there waiting for their bus. The first vehicle careened into our 2 garbage cans, obliterating them, sending garbage and glass flying. Minutes later, a second vehicle lost control and swerved into the first, T-boning into the driver's side. If my boys were standing there 5 minutes later, I would be up here having a completely different conversation with you. Our home is approximately 600 yards, actually 500 yards from Netherwood Elementary School. And although we are within the school zone, there is no lower speed limit from the overall 45 miles per hour speed, which I find insane. Most school zones have a speed limit typically 20 miles per hour, but apart from 2 school zone signs with flashing lights that have never worked, there are no clear safety signs warning motorists to slow down. I have spoken repeatedly to both the Department of Transportation of Poughkeepsie and Dutchess County, as it is a county road. As per the DOT, lower speed limits are only mandated for school zones for students who need to walk to and from school. Netherwood Elementary students are primarily bused or driven by caregivers. However, signs with flashing lights during school hours are required. Neither of the two school signs have flashing lights that work. The DOT Dutchess County engineers are aware of the problem and have tried to fix it to no avail. First, and I quote, "The traffic signs were a good idea, went bad, i.e. solar panels, simply do not receive enough sun to power the flashing lights, warning drivers of the school zone. They're trying to access funding to rectify, but have no success to date," unquote. However, the DOT website states that speed limits, quote, "may be lowered if the school with one or more grades under grade 12 and the school administration and the jurisdiction responsible for the highway provides written documentation of their support for the school speed limit." I am as shocked as anyone that this isn't a concern for Netherwood Elementary School. In fact, I will be sending Hyde Park School Board a copy of my remarks tonight. I just think we're waiting for a terrible accident to happen. And I don't want to be in that position, and I'm sure you as the town board do not. And I feel like if we don't do something when we have the chance, we might miss it, and we might be standing here talking about dead kids. As a private citizen, there is only so much I can do. And I understand that this is not simply a town, school board, and a DOT issue, and that there are many stakeholders. But I think that by bringing this to your attention, we can prevent something that is so easily preventable. Thank you.
Carol Roberts, North Avenue. I also want to address the traffic. The traffic on North Avenue has increased so dramatically, even over the past year, year and a half. It's insane. The speed limit's 30 miles an hour. Then there's a sign where it says 45. Nobody does 30. The trucks, the tractors, the passenger cars, the school buses are going 45 through a 30-mile-an-hour zone. Our houses are right on the road. There is no buffer on the side of the sidewalk. We're right there. It is so dangerous. I can't even put a mailbox across the street. I have to have a post office box because, first of all, I can't put one in the middle of my sidewalk. I can't stand in the road to get mail in someone else's property across the street. So I have to have a post office box. The sheriff department won't work with us. The state police won't work with us. I would like to ask if the town board can form a committee with those of us who live in areas where the speed is out of control, work with the town and work with the county, because North Avenue is a county road, to try and come up with a solution. Something has to be done. Thank you, Dan. I mean, I can send out an email, maybe you can send an email, and we can figure out something. Thank you. The second thing I want to address, you guys just came up with this wonderful resolution about not being filled with hate, not supporting all these awful things. Why then, why in the world did you accept a donation from Snow Fountain? That is the truck that went through the Christmas parade with swear words written all over it. He still has hate-filled signs all over his truck. He drives by my house all the time. How can you then turn around and accept a donation from him? You are violating, going against everything you are supposed to be for. You can get a donation from somewhere else. It's not that difficult. There's plenty of places. It's just, it breaks my heart. And I feel slapped in the face that you guys are accepting a donation from Snow Fountain. I would turn around right now. Get rid of your resolution to accept it. Don't accept it. Please, you make yourselves look like idiots to turn around and take a donation from them. I'm sorry.
Gary Vader, Salt Point Racetrack, or the Lindsey Vonn Road of the Month with a slalom course. Let me just give you a few, and I've been here and talked about speed limits forever. And I know you can't do nothing. State road, county road, you can talk to them again. I'll give them my hearing aids. Maybe they can listen. The state is very... Drive down Dutchess Turnpike, 40 miles an hour. The whole way, 40 miles an hour. We got nothing. No state road that's 40. You come down North Avenue, it's a county road, North Avenue. It changes to 45 just before the recreation park and just before the largest apartment project we have in town. It changes right there. Yep. Salt Point Turnpike changes to 45 just before my house, just north of Quarry Road. On a curve that I can't see the cars coming around. And up the road, you have two of the busiest farm markets on the road. There you got the Charlie Carroll Farm and you got Hahn Farm. Very busy. There is no reason why the speed limit's 55. How many people follow cars 55 miles an hour on roads? No. They know they can do 60, and they'll probably do 65, and it's been a lot larger. It just makes no sense, but I don't want to spend a bunch of time on that. Under a point of order, you have the agenda. You have a motion to adopt the agenda, and more often than not, we add items. How can I, sitting at home, and I do, you probably don't like a lot of it, because I'm old, and you don't think I have a bunch of sense left in me, but how can you add items and we can't think about what they're going to be? You adopted the agenda, and then you added items on the end. That's crazy. We got no choice. Now I can, this one is just new items only. Are those old additions new items or agenda items? I have no idea. I can never figure this out. I'm kind of stupid. That's all the bad stuff. I do have a good thing. At least I worked a long time on a good thing. This Saturday at 1 p.m. on Fox Run, which is off Speedway the Speedway of Netherwood Road. First right from Salt Point Turnpike. We will be having a I think it's a very important ceremony for Pleasant Valley. I personally have been working 3.5 years up there. A cemetery that my wife and I drove past a number of times, and she sits next to me all the time. And I say, boy, I wish somebody would clean up that cemetery. I said that every time I went up this road. Well, about 4 years ago, I said, hey, I'm somebody. He talked about, Councilman Deegan. He talked about a lot of good things that I learned from my parents that are lacking today. I see that. But Up there is the burial grounds of a Revolutionary War soldier. There will be a lot of information given at that time. A lot of research has been done. I looked up a lot, some of it's readily available. We have been, there's a couple of fellows that have been helping me because when I started, I was, 4 years at my age. I was a lot better 4 years ago than I am now lifting stones and getting around. But I think you will learn a lot about that, and you will learn about other stuff. The Patriot Burial Historic Marker Program is similar to the state signs, the cast iron signs that you see around. This will be the second one, I do believe, for Pleasant Valley. The first one was at the mill site. That's a whole different section. And these are done by, called the William G. Pomeroy Foundation. Mr. Pomeroy is still with us. He is, I don't want to sound envious or whatever, but he has a great deal of money. And he spends it on these markers all over the state. And they are good for the Pleasant Valley for a number of reasons. First of all, this goes on a national register. So there are people that go around visiting these things. I only had time to print out one so you can make copies, but this is what it's all about. So I invite general public. We will have quite a few representatives from around the area. We will have DAR, SAR, that's Daughters of American Revolution, Sons of the American Revolution. Tim Middlebrook, who is the coordinator of the signs for New York State, will be there. And this process isn't done like that. This process took pretty close to 2 years to get passed and get through, so it is not a small job. But yes, people, along with Councilman Deegan's statement, yes, we can do things and show people. They don't teach history in school anymore, but we can do that. I don't want to take up all your time, but I invite you all, start at 1 o'clock, it end when it ends. Parking will be a problem, so, and it will take a few steps. And my friend Councilman, yes?
It's on Fox One Road. What's the address, though? That's what I wanted to ask you. It's the
There's
first-
no physical address. It's only about 1,000 feet
Can't miss it.
in.
Oh.
It's on the right near the top of the hill. And the sign will be unveiled at that time. It was in place today, but it will be there, unveiled with a ceremony. And I know my daughter's even going to be there. She's a member of DAR, so yes, thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
I'll make a motion that
Thank
we
you.
close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I just get recognized before we continue?
Sure.
I want to just make sure we don't all just leave and then don't make a plan. So I understand your frustration about Netherwood. I understand your frustration about Salt Point. It's been obviously brought up that those are both county roads or state roads. So the town, We don't go and change the speed limits. We don't really have a say on them. So we're at the mercy of the county or the state. A little bit of history, and I'm going to push again for us to do another letter from the town board to whoever we have to. But I'm just on Granicus, which keeps track of our agendas. Speed limits on Salt Point, Rossway, Netherwood came up once on here, has been talked about, and letters have been sent 4 different times over the past year. So what I'm asking from all those who spoke tonight, it's great that you come here and tell us, but what I'd ask for you to do is take whatever comments you made and send them to the town clerk so we can attach them to whatever letter we're going to draft and send again, because obviously us sending a letter doesn't get anywhere. There's actually, I'm looking at another letter that the DOT sent back to us. It's dated to Supervisor DeVecchio on April 28th of 2023. The town board at that time had asked for North Avenue to be reduced. They came back and said the town board 7 years ago asked for it to be reduced, and they denied it because there's no slowdown point between the 30 and the higher speed limit further up, and there wasn't crash records, and we were able to lower Rossway. We had a request again, even though that's a town road, we had a request from the county and the state because it affects their roads when we lower it, but they approved that. So I guess what I'm saying is we need to collectively put this energy into one place to actually affect change. And I understand your aggravation, but it realistically doesn't come down to us. We can continue trying to help. I would also say if you haven't emailed or reached out to your county legislatures, there's 4 now that represent the town. I would probably be reaching out to the county and letting them know, on top of giving us stuff to send with whatever we're going to do. And then Freedom Road, that's an example of where they actually, after petitioning the state, they actually lowered it. So it's possible, but these are not the easiest people to work with, and they definitely don't just listen to whatever we have to say. So anything that you guys can do to help us, and the noisy wheel gets the oil, right? So let's continue the pressure on the people who need to hear it, and that's the county legislatures, and we'll do, I'm sure, our best to continue that as well. But get us that stuff. Unfortunately, it's not a public comment section right now, so we could talk afterwards. And then just to address Mr. Veter's thing, I'm just going to clarify because it can be confusing. The items of special consideration, the section 15 of the agenda, those items are basically items that didn't meet the deadline on Friday when I think it's 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or something like that. For example, Councilman Deegan, he's guilty of that this week. So we have a deadline internally. If it doesn't meet that deadline, it has to go under items of special consideration. As a board, it has to be a unanimous vote to allow it to be on the agenda. These were already added on the agenda, and if you go on the town's website, you'll actually see the resolutions or any supporting documentation to them. So I know it sounds from your standpoint that we're adding them just right here and now, and you would have no opportunity, but it is in the packet. It's just a procedure that we do, because if the board doesn't feel they had an adequate enough time to look it over, it has to be a unanimous vote. So I know in the past it has been added last minute. Tonight was not one of them, but we're trying to be better at not doing that. So
I forgot what day it was. I thought it was Thursday and it was Friday. Can't fix stupid.
So things happen. There's so much stuff going on, but that's all I have to say. And for those wanting to send us stuff, there's business cards right out by the town clerk's office with all of our email addresses. I would send it at least to the town clerk, and she'll send it out to all of us, and it will be official then.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, did we close the? Okay, I'm sorry. Motion to go into executive session for 105.1F personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. I make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.